Hello and welcome to my channel Happy Hours. In my last video, I discussed about the Indus Valley civilization, where I discussed about its evolution, its extent, findings, important sites, its characteristics, scripts, crafts, religion, society, and finally about the declination of this civilization. In this video, I am going to discuss about the Vedic era, which start from 1500 BC and assumed to end in 600 BC, where I am going to discuss about its two divisions. Those are Rig Vedic period and later Vedic period. I'm also going to discuss about their political, economic and social life. What was the difference and why it got transformed? And finally, I will also discuss about the complexity faced by the majority of people of the society and how they awakened and became heterodox. So what are we waiting for? Let's start our discussion about the Vedic period or the Vedic civilization. As I have mentioned before, the Vedic civilization period was 1500 BC to 600 BC. All the Vedic literatures were composed during this period. The first 1500 BC to 1000 BC was known as Rig Vedic, and the latter period, which was from 1000 to 600, was known as Latter Vedic period. The Rig Vedic period or Rig Ved is assumed to be written by the Aryans. So we have to understand who were the Aryan. Aryan, they came from Central Asia. They came in the search of pasture lands. They were migrants, not the invaders. They did not came at a time, but they came in waves. There was conflict and coexistence. According to Max Muller, on the basis of philological studies, it is concluded that the meaning of word Aryan is not the race or the culture community, but basically it is a linguistic community. Now let us continue our studies from the Rig Vedic period. As I have mentioned already, the Rig Vedic period is the period when the Rig Veda was written. There is no archaeological evidence for this period, as it is considered or assumed that Aryans they used to travel from one place to another, and they never left any footprint behind them. So we cannot find any archaeological evidence, and we have only literature as the evidence, and that was the Rig Veda. First, we should know what are the Vedic literature we are having. First is the Shruti, and second one is the Smriti. Shruti is again divided in four parts: Veda, Brahmana, Aranyak, and Upanishad. And the Smriti is divided in two parts: Vedanga and Upaveda. The Veda is again divided in four: Rigved, Samved, Yajurved, and Atharvaved. As I have mentioned about the evidence available for the Rig Vedic period is only the literature, and that is the Rig Veda. To understand a society, we have to understand the Rig Veda. So I am going to discuss in detail about the Rig Veda. It is the earliest literature of India. Rig Veda reveals to us the kinship, state, and political organization of India. There are total 10 mandalas with 1028 hymns in this literature. Out of them, 2nd to the 7th are the oldest, then the 8th and 9th. This 2nd and 7th are also known as Gotra Mandala, which means the people having the common cow pen, like Vishwamitra, Vashishta, Bhardwaj. 8th and 9th, as I have mentioned, are the middle ones, and the 1st and the 10th are the newest. They are written in the last. The second one is written by Gupta Samad, the third one by the Vishwamitra. In that only we have mentioned there is a mention of Gayatri Mantra. It is composed by Vishwamitra and it is dedicated to sun. Fourth is written by Vamdev, fifth by Atri, sixth by Bhardwaj, and seventh was the Vashisht. Vashisht mentioned in this about the Das Rag Yudh, which means the Battle of Ten Kings. There was a Bharat tribe and the king was Sudas. According to the priest, the priest was Vishwamitra, but due to certain reasons, he was expelled by the king, and the new priest was Vashishta. There was a fight in between Sudas and 10 tribe kings, and Sudas won. He was the king of Bharat. So the Bharat is the old time, from the old time Bharat is existing. Now we have to understand about the 8th and ninth. The 8th is about the Dhanasruti, which means how to and how much you should give dhan. Ninth is devoted to Soma god. Somras was found in Himalaya and consumed by Indra, and he used to destruct the non Aryans. It is mentioned in the ninth mandala. Next, the first mandala is dedicated to Raja Harishchandra. Raja Harishchandra was very honest and he always used to speak the truth. And the last is the 10th, and that is the Purush Shuktam. According to it, the Purush is also known as Brahman. And from here we can have the knowledge that there is the origin of Varna system also, where they mention the brain of Brahma is the Brahman, arms is the Kshatriya, thigh is the Vaishya, and the Shudra is the feet. Now let us understand about the geographical knowledge of the Aryans. In the text, we find that the description about the Mujavant means Himalaya. So we can say that the northeast geological boundary known by Aryan was the Mujavant or Himalayas. If we think about the southern point, they know till Vidyajal and they don't know about the Godavari and Krishna river. In the west, in the east, they know about the western UP. They have mentioned about Ganga for 3 times, and there is a mention about Yamuna for 1 time. It means that they know about Ganga and Yamuna until western UP, and that was their eastern boundary. And they have not mentioned about the Brahmaputra even once. In the western side, they have mentioned about Kumbha, Kabul, Khurram. It means they know till the Afghanistan, and there is no mention about the Oxus. So this is about their geographical knowledge of Aryans. Now let us understand about the Nadi Stuti. In the Nadi Stuti, there are description of 21 rivers, in which they mentioned Sindhu, which means Indus, the most. Saraswati river is mentioned as Naditama, which means the holiest river, or Ambetama, which means the mother of all rivers. Saraswati river got extinct in 1750 near Vimsam, which is in Rajasthan. There are 5 rivers of Punjab which are also mentioned. These are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Satlam, and Beas. Jhelum is mentioned as Askini, Chenab as Vistata, Ravi as Purushni, Satlaj as Sutudri, and Beas as Vipasa. Now let us proceed and understand about the social life of the Rig Vedic period. And we can say there was homogeneous society without any social stratification. Varna system was evolved at the end of Rig Veda. There was the intervarna mobility, which means one was achieved and not ascribed. So we can also say that varna was based on karma. Condition of women was very respectful. They received higher education, they had political power, right to property, and there are some names of women mentioned in the Rig Veda who are very intelligent. They were having the status of rishi, and they composed the hymns also. These are Ghosha, Apala, Sikta, Lopamudra, and Vishwapara. There were no social evils like untouchability, polygamy, child marriage, sati, and widow, which means widow can remarry. Even there was no idol worship and no rituals. They do tap, but not the yajna. They do penance for the salvation. Now let us understand about the political condition of the people of the Vedic period, or we can say Rig Vedic period. The basic unit was the Kula, which means the family, and it was the basic unit for the society and the political organization. The Kul head was known as Kulpati, Grihapati, Dampati. They were the eldest member of the family. They were the solver of the problems within the family also. Gram was the fighting unit. It is a tribe, there were many Grams. The head of the Gram was Gramini. It was not a fixed unit, and the word Sangram is derived from Gram. Sangram means fight. So, whenever there was a fight or a war, people came together and formed a Gram. They had a head also who was the Gramini. Now, the left members who were neither the Kulapati or we can say the member of Gram, they were the economic unit or we can say the production unit. They were known as Vish, and the head of the Vish was the Vishpati. The whole tribe was known as Jan, and the head of the tribe was known as Janapati. So now we have understood about the classification of society where the Kul was the smallest and Jan was the biggest. Kul has the head as Kulapati. Next is the Gram, head is the Gramini. The head is Visapati, and the last one is Jan, and the head is Janapati, or we can say the Gopati. The Rashtra is the imaginary unit, but assumed as Bharat. It was not geographical unit, means the boundary was not defined properly anywhere in Rig Veda. But there is some description mentioned, and that was about the Bharat as the Rashtra. There were three political assembly. First was Sabha, which was of the elder members, where the men and women both can participate. And it was for the judicial function to maintain the law and order in the society. Next was the Samiti. The main function of the Samiti was to monitor the election of the king. Women also take part in Samiti. So we conclude that the political organization of Rigvedic period was republican. Last is Vidat. The main function of Vidat was to distribute the wealth. Whenever there was a fight in between the tribes, the winner captured the cattle, pasture land, and even the slaves. In the beginning, these things were equally distributed among all the members of the tribes, and this distribution was monitored by Vidat. In the beginning, everything was very honestly done, but slowly, corruption arises and started, and there were now the biggest share of this capturing was given to the king, and now the king became the most powerful and it's going to dominate all the political institution, due to which the republican system changed to monarchy system, and this transition took place within the Rigvedic period. Let us now proceed further and understand about the economic organization of Rigvedic period. It was a mixed economy. Pastoral and agricultural both were doing together, in which pastoral economy was dominant. Cow was the main medium of economy. We can conclude this as Go word is mentioned 176 times in Rigveda. Ashva, which means horse, is mentioned the most. 215 times. Go was medium of economy, so it was exchanged also. In society, many technologies were derived from Go, like Gavishti, Goshu, or Ganvesha were the term for the war. Gomat was the word for the rich people of the society. Gopati was for the king. Gavyuti was the unit for the distance. Goduli, which is the unit for time and mainly for the evening. Daughter was termed as Duhitri, which means those who milk the cows. There was very less agriculture done. In Rig Veda, there are only two crops known, or it is mentioned, and that is wheat and barley. Wheat was known as Godhum and barley as Yav. The staple food diet of Aryans was milk and milk product. Near about in 1000 BC, they came to know about iron. Iron was very soft, mostly used in war weapon, or we can say it was used for the expansion of empire. It was also used during the tax collection. Next, I am going to discuss about the later Vedic period, which was from 1000 BC to 600 BC. As I have mentioned earlier, all the literary sources except the Rig Veda is written during this period, marked as significant evolution in ancient Indian history. During this period, Aryans expanded towards the fertile Gangetic plains, leading to increased agricultural activities and establishment of permanent settlements. Now let us first discuss about the social life of the latter Vedic period. In this phase, Varna system became rigid. Inter-Varna mobility was very restricted now. Varna was determined by birth. This was the new change in the society. The rigidity was the dominance of Brahmana and Kshatriya. Brahmanas have dominance on the educational system. We can say that Brahman and Kshatriya developed nexus in the society. Now the condition of the women deteriorated. They lost the political right, the right to property, and there was polygamy and child marriage also. Now rituals dominated the method of worship, and there were 16 samskars according to the Gautam Sutra, or we can say the Griha Sutra. These were, first was the Garbhadhan, where it was a period of pregnancy. Second was the Pumsvana, right for a strong or a male baby, just in after the third month of the pregnancy. Third was the Simantonayan, which means parting the hair upwards. It was for the safe delivery. Next was the Jatkarman, means the right of a newborn infant. It is the celebration of birth of a baby. Fifth was the Namkaran. It was celebrated for the naming of the baby. Sixth was the Nishkraman, when the baby is going out for the first time. We can say after the 3 months when the baby is moving out for the first time from the house. Seventh was the Annaprasan, which means the feeding food. After 6 months, when the baby is eating the food, or we can say the Anna for the first time. Eighth is Chudakaran, which means the baby first hair is being cut. Ninth is Karnaveda, means ear piercing. 10th is Vidyarambha, which means the beginning of studies. For the first time, the kids are going to write something. 10th is Upanayan, means the sacred Yajupavittam is being given to the boy, and at the age of 8. 12th is the Veda Dharma, which means they are going to start learning the Ved or Upanishad. They are going to learn how to recite the hymns. 13th is Kesh Kanta, removal of facial hair, and for the girl it is known as Ritu Shuddhi when they are reaching the age of puberty. 15th is Samavartana, which means the graduation ceremony. 15th is Vivaha, which means marriage. And 16th is the Antyeshti, which means the cremation. There were more and more yajna nowadays. Means now there was a provision of 5 yajna. In Yajurveda, there is a mention of provision of 3 yajna, which were the Ashwamekh, Rajshu yajna, and Vajpayam. The Ashwamekh yajna was a horse sacrifice ritual followed by the Shrota tradition of Vedic religion. It was used by the ancient Indian kings to prove their imperial sovereignty. A horse is accompanied by the king's warriors would be released to wander for a year in the territory traversed by the horse, and rival could dispute the king's authority by challenging the warriors accompanying it. After 1 year, if no enemy had managed to kill or capture the horse, the animal would be guided back to the king's capital. It would be then sacrificed, and the king would be declared as the undisputed king or the Chakravarti Samrat. Next is the Rajshu Yajna. It is ceremony that marks the consecration of king. According to Puranas, it refers to a great sacrifice performed by the Chakravarti Samrat, in which the tributary prince may also take part at the time of his coronation as a mark of his undisputed sovereignty or to prove the supremacy. Next and the last one is Vajpayee Yajna. According to it, 7 horses were tied in the chariot. The other chariots were also presented in the race. And after the victory, king and his wife sit down on the victorious chariot and both travel along a defined place. The chariot was welcomed by the people. Now the rituals become very complex. Social complex structure was the marriage also. Now there were 8 types of marriages. First was the Brahma, means with the family consent, and the dowry was a must, which was a pair of cow or bull. Second was the Deva, when the marriage was with the priest, as priest was considered as the god, or we can say the Devta. Third is Arsha, where it is the reverse dowry system was followed. Now the girls are going to be paid, or we can say bought. Next is Prajapatya, that is no giving, no taking, without the dowry. Fifth is Gandharva, which means the love marriage. Sixth is Asura marriage, which is the unmatched marriage, where marriage is with the old person. Either the bride or the groom is older. Next is Rakshas. Rakshas marriage is by the capturing of the girl. Eighth is the Paisach marriage, that is the deceived marriage, where the girl is not in with the sound mind, or we can say she was intoxicated. Gandharva, Asura, Rakshasa, and Paisach were unapproved by the Brahmanas. Fundamentally, now the society became very complex. There was elaborate provision of rituals, and to reduce the complexity now, they divided the society into ashramas. We can say in order to break the rigidity of the Varna system, ashram system was evolved. In Atreya Brahman, we can find the first reference of the ashram. In Jabla Upanishad, we get the reference of 4 ashramas, which were Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. These were the social change of this period. Now let us proceed and understand about the political organization of later Vedic period. It was the beginning of territorial monarchy. Bharat and Purut together, they make a Kuru Janpad, and Yadu and Turvasa makes Panchal Janpad. In this period, Ratnin system means minister and bureaucrat system developed. And according to Satpat, there were many Ratnin. First was Purohit, who was a chief priest. Second was Tenani, who was the supreme commander of army. Rajapati, who was an officer in charge of pasture land. Jivagriva, who was a police officer. Dutas or Taspasas was a spy. Gramini, head of village. Kulapati, head of family. Madhyamasi, mediator of dispute. Sutta, chariot driver. Palagala, messenger. Akshivapa, accountant. Atapati means chief judge. Sangrihi, the treasurer, and the Mahishi, the chief queen. These were the Ratnan of the society, or political system. Next, let us understand about the economic organization of the later Vedic period. It was a mixed economy. Now the agriculture and pastoral was mixed together. Agriculture was dominant in this period. In this phase, rice was also introduced, which was known as Vrihi, due to the movement of Aryans towards the Gangetic Valley. In Yajurveda, we get description of all the agricultural activity along with multiple crops. There were two taxes now introduced, and those were Bhag and Bali. Bhag was the king's share in the produce, and it was 1/6 of all production. Bali was a voluntary offering like milk, fruits, and vegetable, etc. Now let us all together understand about the religion of Vedic period. Means I'm going to mention about the Rig Vedic and the later Vedic period both. In the Vedic religion was based on nature worship. There are 33 gods and goddesses mentioned in the Rig Veda. Now nature was worshipped in the form of human. Anthropomorphic means the representation of nature in the form of human. So God was now going to pray in the form of human. Rig Vedic period is known as henotheism, which means God is only one but can be represented in many forms. Indra is the highest god of Aryans. It was mentioned near about 250 times in the Rig Veda. Indra was the rain god and also the war god. He is having Kamadhenu and Airavat. His wife was named as Sachi. She was the goddess of energy. Indra was also known as Purandar and Somapeya, the one who drank the Soma. Agni was the second important god, and it was mentioned 200 times in Rig Veda. It was intermediate god between god and human. So it was mediator. Agni was known as Pathikrit and Atithi. So Agni make the path. Pathikrit means who is going to create the path. And it came every evening and go in the morning. So it was used to lit the stuff, to make food and safety and lightning the evening. That's why it was also known as Atithi. Next god is Varun. It was the god of ethics. It was mentioned near about 120 times in Rig Veda. It is the god of Rith. He was a preserver of Rith and even the Ritu. So we can say he is the creator of seasons. He was having two subordinates, Gandharva and Apsara. Two female goddesses are also mentioned. One is Usha, who was a goddess of dawn. Its name is mentioned 25 times in Rig Veda. And Shri, whose name is mentioned one time in Rig Veda. And later it was associated with Lakshmi. We have understood about the complexity of society in the later Vedic period. Now the Kshatriya want to become more superior. They want to achieve the highest rank of the society. So they started opposing. So by 600 AC, there was awakening. Now Kshatriyas stopped supporting the Brahmanas. Even the other sectors of the society were also devastated due to the rituals. So everyone started opposing the Brahmanism. Peasants opposing the Brahmanism due to the sacrifice of animals. Even the condition of women was very deteriorating day by day. So we can say everyone was devastated. And the majority of people opposed the Brahmanism and rituals. There was a rise of Buddhism and Jainism, and they were supported by the majority of society. With this, we have understood about the Rig Vedic period and later Vedic period. We have also came to know about the transition. How the life of the people get complex due to the different rituals, and how the condition of women get deteriorated, and how the Shudras were ill treated. With passing of the time, the Rig Vedic period to the later Vedic period, the women got deteriorated. Even the polygamy, child marriage deteriorated the society more and more. And how the people started opposing and started supporting heterodoxy, which means no religion. There was no religion criteria. And how the Buddhism and Jainism is going to rise. With this, I am concluding my video. If you like the content of my video, kindly like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.